Yellow Productions presents
a travel guide for visiting the city of Kanazawa in Japan. I'm Chris, and yes, this is a kimono. You can rent kimonos in Kanazawa. They often call Kanazawa Little Kyoto, and it's a lot of history here. There's a big castle, and lots of neat stuff to see. Kanazawa is also famous for its gold leaf, so you'll see a lot of gold leaf things in the city, including ice cream cones with gold leaf on top.
In this video, I'm going to cover the following 8 topics on Kanazawa. First, we'll visit the Kenrokuen Garden, considered one of the 3 best gardens in Japan. We'll go across the street to Kanazawa Castle, a large, well-restored castle dating back to 1583. We'll then wander over to the Higashi Chaya District, a traditional neighborhood with tea houses where geisha perform. We'll stop by Kanazawa's Omicho Market, which is the city's largest seafood market with over 200 shops and stalls. I'll talk a little bit about transportation in Kanazawa, driving or the bus. I'll talk about getting to Kanazawa and how you can take the Shinkansen. We'll then arrive into Kanazawa's JR train station, which is one of the best places in Kanazawa for shopping and food. And finally, I'll conclude with a visit to Kanazawa's Nagamachi Samurai District, a district where samurai and their families used to reside. This video is part of my series on Kanazawa. I've got 4 other videos on Kanazawa. You can find links at the end of this video or in the description below, including renting kimonos in Kanazawa, the best sushi in Kanazawa, the best hotel in Kanazawa, and also the best onsen near Kanazawa.
We're going to start this video across from the castle in Kenrokuen Garden. Why? Because it's right next to where we rented these kimonos. The Kenrokuen Garden, it used to be part of the gardens of the castle. It's now a public garden, considered one of the 3 best in Japan. Admission is 310 yen. It's a traditional Japanese garden, perfect for strolling and perfect for taking pictures in kimonos. The garden is home to a very unique cherry blossom tree. This one right here, it's the garden's chrysanthemum cherry blossom tree, where each of the chrysanthemum-looking blossoms has 300 cherry blossom petals on each one. One of the things I love about Japanese gardens are how lovingly they take care of the plants and trees. Look at how many supports this tree has. I think there's more supports than there are branches. You can understand why a lot of these trees need the support. This one here has been here since the middle of the 18th century. It's really impressive how they trim these trees too. They get these really tall ladders and they prune them almost like you're pruning a bonsai tree. That guy's got some hand shears up in the top of that tree, trimming it ever so precisely. One attraction I consistently saw the Japanese tour guides pointing out as they were here was actually, well, this attraction. Apparently being a white guy in a kimono is a sight to see. A specialty of Kanazawa is ankura mochi. It's mochi and red bean on the outside, served with tea. There's a number of these little huts around the park and the garden. You can sit on a tatami mat and enjoy the pond while eating some of these unique Japanese sweets. You can easily spend a couple hours strolling around Kenrokuen Garden. As you can see, it's a pretty big area. Lots of great places for picture taking. And many people also say that even though this is one of the 3 best gardens in Japan, many people consider this one to be the most beautiful. Directly across from the garden is Kanazawa Castle, right behind me right there. Admission to the Kanazawa Castle grounds is actually free, but if you want to visit some of the turrets or the storehouses, then that has the same admission price as the garden. Not the same admission, but the same price of 310 yen to go into some of the attractions that are here at the castle. It's worth a visit just to come over and see it. It looks pretty cool. It's a pretty well kept Japanese castle. But the gardens are really cooler than the castle. The castle grounds are really quite huge. I think they're about 4 times the size of the garden, and there are vast areas of open space, which for Japan is actually kind of unusual. So if you just came from Tokyo, this might be a great place to come and relax and get away from stuff. I think that's why you might come to Kanazawa, because it's a little bit away from the busyness of everything. Kanazawa is the 2nd largest city in Japan to have escaped air raid bombings in World War II, and because of that, it's actually quite well preserved. This area, the Higashi Chaya area, is famous for its historic tea houses. And most of these storefronts used to be tea houses where geishas would perform to entertain their guests. There's still a couple of them that act as operating tea houses. There's a couple that are museums, And you can also find a famous gold leaf store selling products with all sorts of Kanazawa's gold leaf. There's 2 other big districts like this throughout the city, and it also looks like the Geisha Street in Kyoto if you've been there too. In the gold leaf shop, they have the gold leaf storeroom, a storeroom that they've plated with gold leaf to show off that 99% of Japan's gold leaf production comes from Kanazawa. Kanazawa has a very lively seafood and produce market called Omicho Market. That's where I'm standing in right now. It's a 2-story market. It takes up a few city blocks. There's about 200 different vendors. It's very lively in the morning. It's very busy at lunch. It kind of closes down after about 3 o'clock. So make sure that you come here early in your day, and you can shop for fresh produce, fresh fish. There's some clothing shops, some souvenir shops, and lots of great restaurants to eat as well. And the thing to eat at the Omicho Market are the chirashi bowls, or the seafood bowls. Most of the restaurants close by 3, so if you find yourself here at night, there are a couple of them on the 2nd floor, which is where we dined. This bowl of seafood is 3,200 yen, and it has all sorts of seafood under the sun: salmon roe, tuna, shrimp, and because we're in Kanazawa, it also has gold leaf on it. Yes, that's edible gold. Kind of feel like a king right now. A note on transportation in Kanazawa. There's not a whole lot of public transportation around here. There is a tourist bus that'll take you to the tourist sites. It runs every 20-30 minutes. So it's nice to have a car to get to some of the sites. Parking is plentiful, but expensive. There's a lot of big public parking garages, and they are gonna cost you a pretty penny. Anywhere in the neighborhood of 200 yen for 30 minutes to 300 yen to 400 yen. They can be expensive, but you'll be paying for the convenience to actually get there and not waiting around. So when you get that big bill at the end of your parking garage, don't have a heart attack, because I want you to keep watching my videos. Kanazawa has some really narrow streets. Take this street, for example, right here. This street is actually 2 ways. The cars drive in the middle, but if one's coming up behind them, they have to stop and go over to pass. So if you are driving, make sure you don't, see that taxi? He takes up the whole street just by himself. And I've seen a truck and a car, and they don't know what to do, so one has to pull into a parking spot to let the truck go by. To get to Kanazawa, you can take the newly opened Kanazawa Shinkansen from Tokyo Station. It goes all the way up to Kanazawa. This is one of the cars. It goes really fast, and you can see it hasn't been discovered by all the tourists yet, because you can have the cars almost all to yourselves. It's a neat ride. Out the east exit of the Kanazawa JR Station is this really neat arch. This arch is a symbol of Kanazawa. You see it on all their magnets and pamphlets. And then over this way, there's this really neat fountain. I've never seen a fountain that's quite as high-tech as this. It's a fountain that tells you the time, spells out words. Right now it says welcome, and then it's gonna come up and it's gonna say the time, and it'll do that right now. So it's 7:56 p.m. That's a fountain that's busting out some knowledge, I have to say. A great place in Kanazawa for shopping and eating is the Kanazawa train station, right here. You might think in a lot of places trains are just for trains, but train stations in Japan are often eating and shopping hubs because everybody passes through here. The shops are usually open till about 8 o'clock at night, and the restaurants are often open for later. And of course, in the shops, you'll find plenty of places selling that famous gold leaf Kanazawa souvenirs, and for restaurants, you'll probably find some of those chirashi bowl restaurants here too. Right next to JR's Kanazawa train station is this amazing rotating sushi restaurant. It is truly the best rotating sushi restaurant I've ever eaten at. It is so good, it deserves its own video. If you're interested and you want to watch it, you can find the link to it in the description of this video. Kanazawa was home to some historic samurai. In the Samurai District, you can go into some of the samurai houses. This was one of the lesser samurai, and it is the family of Nomura. You can pay 600 yen to come into this house. It's been rated one of the top 3 backyard gardens in Japan of samurai houses. It is an amazing garden. I hope someday I can have a garden that has goldfish as big as in that garden. You can walk through the whole house, and this is really cool here. This is the little in-house shrine. Look at all that gold work. Gold leaf from Kanazawa, of course. The way you can tell how important the ranking of the samurai was by how much rice they got from the emperor. The samurai who lived in this house would get 1,200 units of rice. the samurai who lived right by the castle in the gardens, the really nice gardens, that samurai would get 1 million units of rice. So you can just tell that samurai could have a lot more people under him than this one could with only 1,200. So this is a very little samurai. The Nagamachi district is a whole former samurai district. More than just that house, there's a whole bunch of historic looking streets here, great for pictures and to feel what it was like when the samurai resided in Kanazawa. In addition to museums, many of the samurai houses have been converted to cafes and gift shop. This one's a cafe. You'll know you're in the right place because you'll see lots of Japanese tour groups walking around. You can always tell the Japanese tour because the tour guide will be holding a flag and often a sign that says what time the bus leaves. This group, it said 11:25. There's also a lot of European tour groups here in Kanazawa, more so than any other part of Japan I've been to. Lots of Brits, Italians, and Russians that we've encountered while we were here. One of the things I like about Japan is in the touristy areas, they actually provide public restrooms. So kudos to the city planners or tourism bureaus, and the public restrooms are actually maintained and cleaned. What a concept. Europe, you could learn something from this. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click here to subscribe or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Links are in the description below. Or you might enjoy watching one of these other videos from Japan. Click any of them to watch.